Someone asks why you cannot make it tonight. It is a simple question. You could answer in 2 words. I cannot. Instead, you write 3 paragraphs. You explain that work has been stressful. You explain that you have not slept well. You explain that you promised someone else. You even apologize for disappointing them. When you finally press send, you feel relieved. Not because they understood you, because you hope they will not be upset. That happens more often than most people realize. Someone asks why you left your job. You explain. Someone asks why you ended the relationship. You explain. Someone asks why you need time alone. You explain. Someone questions your boundary. You explain that too. After a while, explaining becomes so normal that you stop noticing you are doing it. You think you are simply being respectful. But respect is not the same as justification. There is a quiet question hiding underneath every unnecessary explanation. What if they think I am wrong? That question changes everything. Because you are no longer speaking to share your decision. You are speaking to protect yourself from their reaction. There is nothing wrong with giving context. Healthy relationships need communication. But there is a difference between sharing because you want to and explaining because you are afraid not to. One comes from confidence. The other comes from fear. You can usually tell the difference by what happens after you speak. When you are simply communicating, your body relaxes. When you are searching for approval, you keep watching their face. You wait for the nod, the smile, the message that says, "It is okay." Only then do you feel your decision is allowed to exist. That is a heavy way to live, because your peace no longer belongs to you. It belongs to whoever responds next. Many people think confidence means having the right answers. Sometimes confidence is much simpler than that. Sometimes confidence is saying one sentence and allowing it to remain enough. The strange part is that most people do not expect as much explanation as you think they do. They asked, "Can you come?" You answered everything except the question. Because somewhere in your life, saying no stopped feeling complete. It started feeling selfish. And selfish people needed to explain themselves. At least that is what you learned. Maybe nobody ever said those words directly. Maybe nobody had to. You learn them through experience. Every time you disappointed someone, they wanted another reason. Every time you made a choice they did not like, they questioned it. Every time you changed your mind, someone asked you to defend it. Little by little, you stopped trusting that your own decision could stand on its own. You believed it needed support, evidence, a better explanation, a stronger argument. Without realizing it, every conversation became a performance. Not a conversation, a performance. You were trying to prove that you were reasonable, that you were kind, that you were not selfish, that your decision made sense, that there is something almost nobody notices. The more you explain, the more you quietly teach yourself that your first answer was never enough. And if your own answer is never enough for you, it will never matter how many people agree with it. Because the real conversation was never happening with them. It has been happening inside your own mind all along. There is another reason this habit is so difficult to break. It works, at least for a while. You explain yourself. The argument ends. The tension disappears. The other person becomes less upset. Your mind remembers that moment. It quietly learns a dangerous lesson. Explaining keeps people close. So the next time conflict appears, you explain even more. Not because you enjoy it, because your brain believes it is protecting the relationship. The problem is that relationships built on constant justifications slowly become exhausting. Not because you are surrounded by difficult people, because every decision starts feeling like an exam. You stop asking yourself what you actually want. You start asking what everyone else will think. Before saying no, you imagine how they might react. Before changing your plans, you imagine how disappointed they might be. Before making a decision for yourself, you imagine the conversation you will have to survive afterward. Most of those conversations never even happen. They happen inside your head. You rehearse them while driving, while taking a shower, while trying to fall asleep. You answer questions nobody has asked. You defend decisions nobody has challenged. You apologize for mistakes that have not happened. That is how much space fear can occupy. One simple decision turns into an entire courtroom. You become the lawyer, the witness, the judge, and somehow, the person on trial is always you. Think about how often you apologize before saying something honest. I am sorry, but I know this sounds selfish, but I hate to do this, but why does honesty need an apology? Why does protecting your own time sound like admitting guilt? Nobody is born believing their needs are an inconvenience. That belief is learned. Sometimes it happens in families where saying no was treated as disrespect. Sometimes it happens in relationships where every boundary became an argument. Sometimes it happens at work, where being available all the time was rewarded more than being honest. Different places, the same lesson. Keep everyone comfortable, even if it costs you your own peace. The cost is not obvious at first. People like you. People describe you as easygoing, reliable, understanding, flexible. But underneath those compliments, something else is happening. You are becoming easier to disappoint than to understand, because nobody can understand the real you. If the real you never speaks without permission, that is the quiet tragedy of over-explaining. People hear thousands of your words, but very few of your real boundaries. And after enough years, you begin wondering why nobody seems to know who you really are. The answer is painful. They only know the version of you that was trying to make everyone comfortable. One day you cancel dinner with a friend, not because you do not care, because you are exhausted. You type, "I cannot make it tonight." Then you stop. For a few seconds, the message feels complete. Then you start typing again. "I have been working all week. I barely slept last night. I still have things to finish tomorrow. I hope you are not upset." Nothing changed about your decision, only your fear. That is what over-explaining really is. Fear trying to sound reasonable. The strange part is that you rarely do this with people who respect you. You notice that? The people who care about you usually reply, "No problem. Take care. Let us do another day." The explanation was never necessary. But around people who constantly question you, the explanations become longer, because you are no longer sharing information. You are trying to prevent conflict before it begins. There is something else that happens. The more reasons you give, the more reasons people believe they can challenge. "I cannot come." That is difficult to argue with. "I cannot come because I am tired." Suddenly someone says, "You can sleep earlier." "I am busy too." It is only 2 hours. Without realizing it, your reason became a negotiation. Your boundary became a debate. That is why some people never stop asking for more. Not because they enjoy understanding you, because every explanation teaches them that your answer is flexible, that if they push a little harder, you might change your mind. Eventually, you stop trusting your own first answer. You begin editing it before anyone else has the chance. You soften your words. You apologize before speaking. You smile while saying something that hurts you. Not because you are dishonest, because somewhere along the way, you learned that directness was dangerous. So you became careful. Careful with every sentence. Careful with every opinion. Careful with every decision. The problem is, a life built around being careful slowly becomes a life where nobody knows what you actually want. Not even you. Because every decision passes through the same question first. How will everyone else feel about this? Instead of, is this true for me? That is the question that slowly disappears. And when that question disappears, self-trust disappears with it. You stop following your own judgment. You start following the reaction in someone else's face. That is an impossible way to live. Because no matter how clearly you explain yourself, there will always be someone who wants another reason, another apology, another chance to convince you that your decision is wrong. The problem is not that they keep asking. The problem is that you keep believing they are owed another answer. There is a question most people never ask themselves. What happens if I stop explaining? Not tomorrow. Right now. Imagine someone asks, "Why are you leaving?" And you answer, "Because it is time." Then you stop talking. No second paragraph. No apology. No attempt to make your decision easier for them to accept. For many people, that silence feels unbearable. Not because they have something else to say, because they are waiting for permission to leave. That is the hidden cost of over-explaining. You stop believing your decision belongs to you. You believe it belongs to the person listening. If they approve, you feel confident. If they disagree, you immediately question yourself. Your confidence rises and falls with someone else's reaction. That is not confidence. That is dependency wearing a very polite face. Think about how many times you have changed your mind. Not because your decision was wrong, but because someone looked disappointed. Nobody argued. Nobody forced you. One expression was enough. You saw the disappointment. You felt guilty. Then you started negotiating with yourself. Maybe I can do both. Maybe I can wait one more week. Maybe it is not a big deal. The conversation looked like it was happening with them. It was actually happening inside you. That is why changing your words is never enough. The real work begins when you notice what disappointment does to you. Some people see disappointment and think, they will get over it. Other people see disappointment and think, I have done something wrong. Those are completely different lives. One protects the relationship. The other abandons itself to protect the relationship. Eventually, you become known as someone who is always available, always understanding, always willing to adjust. People compliment you for being easy to work with, easy to talk to, easy to ask for help. Very few people notice what it costs. Because every time you make yourself easier for everyone else, you become harder to recognize. One day you wake up and realize your calendar is full of things you agreed to. Your phone is full of conversations you did not want. and your life feels strangely unfamiliar. Not because someone stole it, because you gave away one small decision at a time. It never felt important. It was only one explanation, one compromise, one apology, one extra reason, until those small moments became your identity. Maybe that is why changing feels so uncomfortable. You are not only learning to say less, you are learning to believe that your first answer deserves to exist, even if nobody claps for it. There is something else nobody tells you. Over-explaining does not only change the way people see you, it changes the way you see yourself. Every time you believe your decision needs another reason, you quietly teach yourself that your own judgment is not enough. That lesson repeats for years. Then one day someone asks, "What do you want?" You hesitate, not because you do not have an answer, because you have spent so long asking everyone else what they think first. You became an expert at reading the room. You noticed every change in someone's voice, every pause, every expression. You could tell when someone was disappointed before they said a single word. That skill probably protected you once. But now, it is exhausting you, because you are always watching other people. You rarely stop long enough to listen to yourself. Sometimes the strongest voice in your life is not your own. It is the imaginary version of everyone else's expectations. You hear it before making a decision. You should explain. They might think you are selfish. You should make them understand. Notice something. None of those voices ask, "What is true for you?" They only ask, "How will everyone else react?" That is why over-explaining is not really a communication problem. It is a self-trust problem. When you trust yourself, you still explain when it is useful. You simply stop explaining because you are afraid. There is a difference. Healthy explanations create understanding. Fearful explanations ask for permission. One builds connection. The other slowly gives your power away. You can see it in small moments. Someone interrupts you. You immediately change your point. Someone disagrees. You begin defending yourself instead of listening. Someone looks confused. You assume you failed. Not every confused face needs another explanation. Sometimes people simply need time. Sometimes they will never agree. Both are allowed. One of the hardest things to accept is this: you can explain yourself perfectly and still be misunderstood. Not because you failed, because understanding is a choice. You cannot force it. You cannot earn it. You cannot talk someone into seeing what they refuse to see. That realization feels painful at first. Then it becomes freeing, because the goal was never to make every person understand you. The goal was to stop abandoning yourself every time they did not. Maybe that is what confidence has always been. Not speaking more, knowing when you have already said enough. Maybe one day, nothing around you will change. The same people will still ask the same questions. Someone will still disagree with your decision. Someone will still think you should have done more. Someone will still believe you owe them another explanation. The difference is, you might not believe that anymore. For a long time, you thought peace would come after everyone understood you. But look at your own life. How many times did you explain yourself perfectly and still walk away feeling misunderstood? The explanation was never the missing piece. You kept trying to solve the wrong problem. Some people do not misunderstand you because you are unclear. They misunderstand you because your answer is inconvenient. Your boundary changes what they can expect from you. Your decision removes something they wanted. No explanation can make that comfortable. And it is not your job to make it comfortable. That does not mean becoming cold. It does not mean refusing to communicate. It means understanding when communication has ended and negotiation has begun. Those are not the same conversation. There will always be people who ask for one more reason, one more chance, one more conversation, one more explanation. Not because they are trying to understand you, because they are hoping your answer changes. Sometimes the kindest thing you can say is exactly what you already said. Nothing more, nothing less. Think about the people you trust the most, the people who make you feel safe. They probably do not explain every decision they make. They tell you the truth, then they let the truth stand. That is why you trust them. Their words do not change with every reaction. Their values do not move with every opinion. They are not waiting for permission to be themselves. That is not arrogance. That is self-respect. Maybe self-respect is quieter than most people imagine. It is not proving people wrong. It is not winning arguments. It is not having the perfect words. Maybe self-respect is simply believing that your honest answer is enough, not because everyone agrees with it, because it is yours. You have spent enough years trying to make yourself easier to accept. Maybe the next chapter of your life is different. Maybe someone will misunderstand you, and you will let them. Maybe someone will be disappointed, and you will let them. Maybe someone will ask for another explanation, and this time, you will realize they already have the answer. They just do not like it. That is not your responsibility to fix. Your responsibility is much smaller than you imagined. Tell the truth. Respect the people in front of you. Respect yourself enough to stop arguing against your own life. Then let your decision stand. Not because it is perfect, because it is honest. If this conversation stayed with you, subscribe to Raw Mind. Every week, we explore the quiet truths behind the choices people make, the fears they carry, and the stories they never learn to question. If you want to go deeper than these conversations, you can explore the complete Raw Mind digital collection through the link in the description. Until next time, maybe confidence is not learning how to explain yourself better. Maybe confidence begins the moment you realize you no longer need to.